Hey everyone, I'm so glad to be here today with my Canadian friend, Katy Suik. We actually met because my business coach now had put out this private podcast and she's pulling in different people she knows to interview. And Katy was one of those people. And I could just tell listening from the interview, I really liked what she had to say, what she was speaking on. And so I think we connected over LinkedIn after that, maybe originally. I don't know if it was that or Facebook, but then we've gotten to know each other and kind of kept in touch with each other and checked in a few different times. So it's
Yeah,
very nice to have a Canadian friend.
that's me. I'm so excited to be here.
Awesome. Oh, and what we're going to talk about today, I feel like is so timely for where we are at this end of 2025. Everyone in the business space is starting to shift their focus to 2026. And let's be real, 2025 has been the wild, wild west. There have been a lot of things that I have been recommending in the marketing space for my clients for years that are not working as well in 2025. So, and I've had this conversation with everybody. I think it's time to step back and take a look and say, do we continue, down this
Mhm.
same road of these conventional tactics, kind of like what's become the norm for marketing, social media and webinars and emails and that type of thing? Or do we look at some new ideas? And I think one idea that's new, but it's not, it's been around a long time, is collaborations. And that's, where Katy can give us the masterclass on collaborations. And Katy, something I know we have talked about recently is that collaborations feels like this vague word. It doesn't have this instant meaning that you're like, oh, wow, I automatically know what you're talking about with collaborations and how I can use them in my business. It's not like that at all. It feels like an undefined term. So, can you help us out with that? In your world, what does a collaboration really mean?
Hmm. Such a great question. And I've encountered that myself. People are like, well, what do you mean by collaboration? And I think even 5 years ago, it was more common to talk about joint ventures as another way of saying it. And that's become sort of old school, if you will. But what I really emphasize to people is it's really about connection more than anything else, connection, relationship marketing. It's really about joining forces with other entrepreneurs who share your values, your audiences, your vision and your passion. Because when we go it alone, I've done it. I'm a pro at the playing the lone wolf game, and it is incredibly isolating. Not to mention, your reach can only go so far. So when I talk about collaborations, it's about so much more than joint ventures. It's really about being strategic and surrounding yourself with people like Ashley, who really are on the same wavelength and who share the same passion, who are service based, integrity based. Those are important to me anyway. So, collaboration is just learning how to work with people in your sphere who share what you have and what you do and share the common, vision for making that difference, that impact. So it's doing it in a way that's obviously business oriented. You're really focused on a win-win for both sides. So when I talk about collaborations, it's really about partnering up. It's about linking arms with. It's about being smarter and building in this economy where trust, let's be real, especially in the coaching industry, it's been flushed down the toilet because there's just been so much garbage that's been put out there. So really coming back and rebuilding integrity based service is the name of the game, and we need to do it together.
I love that so much, and as you were talking about it, what I kept thinking of is, like, this is the PG version of friends with benefits.
Yeah.
It's like we're business friends, but there is also this benefit of, I have an audience that trusts me, and I
Yeah.
trust you, so we're all gonna share in that trust by me introducing you to my audience and saying, "This is someone who knows what they're doing and who you can trust, that if you work with them, if you invest in whatever they're doing, you will get a result that is more than, even what you desire. You don't have to worry about wasting your time and energy and resources to go with someone that you end up disappointed in the end." It's sharing that, it's sharing the circle of trust. So
100%, because if you think about it, 5 years ago, a sales page did the job. I mean, maybe not entirely, but
Yeah.
But people just don't, they're not drawn in anymore because you have to know the person. And that's really what this is about. It's how do you build that, all around you, this community of people who can vet for your services, but also you do it for them. Like it's not a one-way ticket here. It's a collaborative relationship based process.
Yeah, it almost feels to me like, rewinding the tape a little bit, we have become such a internet, online business
Yeah.
society, but there was a time before that when it was, I do business with somebody that my friend recommends because
Yes.
I know that they're legit and will do a good job. And anything else you feel like is a huge gamble. And I feel like there's a real place for that in this time when there's so much information, there's so much AI, we don't even know what's real and what's made up. This is the time when collaborations and having someone you trust to say, this is a great person to work with, when that makes all the difference.
1,000%. It's 1,000. Oh yeah, I could get all over that. Absolutely.
So let's start with your story. I love good stories. Have you always been in the collaboration space since the past 15 years when you got into this? Or, how did you get into this?
It's funny. I shared a post recently where I don't know if this happened to you in high school or college, university, whatever. If people put me in groups, I hated it. I was just like, "Good
The
Lord, like
worst.
no." But they told you, this is how it is in the real world. And at the time, I'm like, it is not. I will work for myself. Thank you very much. And it turns out that working for yourself is very, very hard to do. And it's also not smart. Like, let's be real. Like, why would you put yourself in a silo? So that is what I did. I've been in business since 2011. And for the first 10, 12 years, aside from the odd, locally in my community, I would get together with other people and put on events and things of that nature. But really, I was doing it all by myself. And I just don't think that's healthy, number one. And then in 2020, we all know what happened that year, but for me, it was kind of this massive shutdown of my business wasn't working anymore. I knew I needed to go into the more online space. Previous to that, I was focused more on my community and whatnot. And it was sort of this waking up to this reality that we belong in community. And I made a lot of mistakes and a lot of investments and a lot of good things in the last 5 years. But what I learned in 2021, I first learned about summits. And for me, I love a good strategy. I love it. If you could tell me a formula and you could tell me how to get from point A to point Z in Canada, Z in the States. Um,
That's a
so if
funny
you
one I
could,
didn't know.
yeah, it's true. We try to go with our British rules over here, but anyway, yeah, if somebody can show me the way, I'll do it. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not afraid of anything, but I also have been an overthinker, and I think I got caught up because I had to do everything perfectly. But the good news is in doing summits, I did seven of them over, I want to say it was about a 2.5 year period. And I learned so much. The summits themselves they built up an incredible network. Like I now have just this incredible network of just incredible humans. And I learned a lot in doing this process. But what I also learned a year ago, pretty much to the day, was I don't want to do these anymore. But I didn't want to let go of the collaborative element of it because I did love bringing speakers together. Every time I had an event, I brought them all together in a room, whoever could come, so that they could network with one another. And so people have told me over and over and over again that Katy, you're a connector at heart. Like you really know how to bring people together. It's like Cupid, but again, what did you call it? PG version, Cupid?
Yeah, PG
Um,
benefits with friends
right?
or friends with
Yeah,
benefits. I'm okay.
I'm like the benefits Cupid. Anyway, yeah. So long story short, this year it's been and you said it yourself, it's been a very trying year because I had to strip away so much of what I learned about summits and a lot of the methodologies behind it, not because they're wrong, but because they weren't working for me. And why would you put yourself as a round peg into a square hole if you know that you're designed differently. So really what that's meant for me is it's multifaceted, and I'm still figuring it out, if I'm honest. Aren't we all? Aren't we
Mhm.
all, as
Yeah.
entrepreneurs, always figuring it out, right?
Mhm.
But for me, I love helping people put on collaborative events where they can just work with other people and and have a common goal and a common theme and deliver high value, but on a much smaller scale than a 30-person event. So that's been my story, and it's still unfolding. But I think at the core of it, I've always, in spite of being an introvert and having been so viscerally opposed to working with groups, I've discovered that I just love it. I absolutely love it because it just gets me out of myself in my little tiny tunnel vision world of me and my laptop. So that was probably a lot longer than intended, but that's essentially my story getting here.
Yeah, no, that's wonderful. And I did want to make a note for our listeners who are solopreneurs. Just because you're a solopreneur does not mean you're working solo. You still need your different levels of support. There are the people above you that you are getting coaches to help you work through different steps in your business. There are the people alongside you that are your peers that you work through stuff, you bounce ideas, you brainstorm off of each other. And then there are still a section of people below you that you should have that you can't be a pro at everything. So you still need people to help you with your systems or your bookkeeping or whatever it may be. They may not be employees or they may not be people officially on your team, but you're still pulling in people that are experts in different things to
Yeah.
help you as you grow your business. And that still applies if you're a solopreneur. With all of these collaborations, it's a huge opportunity for you.
100%. And I love that you said that because what I'll often bring up is the example of Martin Luther King Jr. and how, we think of him immediately, right? But do you think he did all that by himself? Like all the crowds of people that came, was that just a one man show? Like, was it just him? Like, they didn't even have Facebook or social media back then. So when it comes to impact and what we're here to do, doing it alone is obviously not effective. And we're meant to be in community. We're meant to be part of
Mhm.
something bigger than us. So just to build on what you said there, for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's you may not see the people, like you said with his example, he was the one that was front facing, but he
Yeah.
probably wasn't the one calling different places to say, can I come speak to your audience or your congregation or arranging travel plans. And no, he had people behind the scenes doing that. I think we all need that. We all need people to lean on.
Yeah.
We all need to be able to get out of our own head and our own way. And that's why we can't do it alone.
Yeah.
So let's get into the meat because I know I want to get this good stuff out of you. So, what kind of collaborations are working for entrepreneurs today? I know there are like bundles, summits, podcast swaps, all the things. What's actually working now?
Mm. I think that's been part of my journey this year is figuring that out because what was working even a year ago isn't quite
Yes.
working the same way. Show up rates are down, engagement is down, which really just comes back around and points to the importance of deeper human connection. So what I've been working on is essentially we'll call them pop-up events. So they're just short-term, high value, smaller speakers. I typically have 6 in total. And what we do is we come together with an overarching theme. And in that theme, we'll cover something like, for example, the most recent event I had was called the Visibility Fix. And you
Mhm.
were there, were you not,
Mhm.
Ashley?
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
you were.
was.
Yeah, that's right. So we talked about different things, and because my network is so lucrative and wonderful, I'm able to handpick according to what I think people are struggling with. So really, it's knowing your audience. Number one, knowing who has your audience. Number two, and then knowing how to join forces with people who, and this is so important. I don't ever want to underestimate this, that they need to share your values. Because if you bring someone in who's just there to, build up their own ego and it's all about the show for them, and, I learned the hard way that that doesn't work. I've had people come to me and say, I have an email list of 50,000 people. And you're like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. Lots of people will come from a list that size. But the
Mhm.
reality was they never promoted, they never did their end of the bargain. Right. So when when it comes to effective events, that's something that myself and quite a few other people have been in discussion about. Like, what is working? What do we do? And I think at the end of the day, it's not about numbers anymore. I hate to break it to you, to anyone listening, because we know that metrics are important. Of course they are. But it's about quality over quantity, because that's where trust comes in. If you're just focused on an event that's going to bring in 1,000 people, but 995 of those people are just there because they saw some random ad that promised them to make $1 million tomorrow, do you really think that the leads are going to be high quality? So while I don't have a straight up answer, if I did, I'd be a millionaire probably. But what I will say is that what I've noticed and what I keep coming back to is there needs to be a real and authentic connection between leaders who are ready to get together and create that massive impact together for a vision that's bigger than them. And so if it's about me, and look at me, I'm amazing, that's not going to fly. Maybe it worked once, it's not going to work anymore. So there's a real transparency in this. And for me, it's really important that integrity be at the root of all of it. But right now, in terms of what's working, short term, people are busy. And the other piece would be, we don't need more information. Good Lord, there's more than enough of that to go around. What we want and what we want to create is transformation. Like, you can tell me all day long all the letters of the alphabet, but if I can't actually implement and create changes in my own business, in my life, I don't know what I'm doing here, because I can go and spend 20 minutes on YouTube. So this is key as well.
Yeah, there were several things you said there. That's what I'm making a note to talk about this. You mentioned integrity. I think that is something that is lacking in the
Yes.
online space, and I think that's why we're having a trust problem, and that's why people are hesitant to go with somebody, because there has been a lack of integrity. There has been them thinking that they will get the result, the transformation that they need, and then they end up not getting that at all. So now we have an integrity problem, which is why it's so important to partner with people who are operate at the highest integrity, that have values. They're very valued, principled people. I think that's huge. The other thing you said that I thought was good when you were talking about your visibility fix, that is a niche topic. We're not trying to reach the masses, or you weren't when you set that up. You were trying to reach people who had a problem of they need to increase their visibility. They're just not getting enough eyeballs. And so you picked niche speakers. I mean, there was one on Jen Rogers on podcasting, was fabulous. Oh my gosh. There was a guy, I think it was a guy on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
So they were like very defined, specific topics where you're right. It wasn't let's give a bunch of broad knowledge. It was specifically do this. Here's some time for you to think about that for your business, to give feedback, to ask questions. It was a personal, more
Yeah.
of a personal interaction, like you said, than a 30-person thing where it's one way. Somebody's going to give you a speech that they could have done on a podcast. No offense to podcasts, because obviously I'm a pretty big fan. But, something more interactive and personal and customized to a person's business. And then the other thing you said, was talking about, we have so much information. It's ridiculous. I mean, really, that's what we're all going to GPT for, is to get you go out and do my research and give me all the information I could want. When it's a person, when you want to hire somebody, you don't want information. You want practical help. You want something customized. You do want a actual conversation and a back and forth. And I think that's why one reason why your stuff is doing so well, your approach is doing so well, because it is kind of pivoting into this new space of, we have an information overload, but we have a connection, like a connection gap. We're missing that.
Yeah. And one other component to the event that I believe is important to incorporate is we did discuss 6 different potential strategies. There was the podcasting, there was LinkedIn, there was all these different things, right? But what I would say is, what was unique about it was, I myself, and I had some support, we emphasized to the crowd, pick your lane. Pick one thing, pick a second thing as a second priority. Do not, for the love of all things holy, go and do all six, because that's what people do, is that they spread themselves so thin and they get so overwhelmed. And really, the event was set up because it's based on like, where are you at in your journey? Because how you move forward will depend on that. You may not
Mhm.
be ready for this thing. Maybe you need to build up on that thing first. And
Right.
so I think that that element of really servicing people where they're at is something that's been missing, because you can't just throw something on the billboard and be like, here you
Yes.
go, problem solved. And
Oh,
so service, yeah, would be another element to this for sure.
absolutely. There
Yeah.
is no one size fits all. I feel like that's a hill I'm willing to die on.
Right?
Cookie cutter things do not work. Do not
You
work.
don't. No.
So I'm thinking about this like as a listener, as someone who hasn't done any of that, and I'm kind of hearing, an online event has a lot of potential. How can I make that work for my business? Who do I approach to partner with me? Like, there's a lot of question marks there. It can feel awkward to reach out to somebody else and say, "Hey, do you want to, want to partner with me to create this event?" So, how do you recommend for female entrepreneurs to begin this, to approach collaborators, to come up with their niche topic? Like, where do you even start if you want to test this out?
Mm, it's a big beast, and but it's a beautiful beast, if that's a thing. Um, so first thing I would say is be human. Number one, when I first started the summit process, there was a lot of outreach that I needed to do, a lot of research to find people. And I truly, anyone who knows me really well has heard the story. I felt like a little goldfish being thrown into a giant sea. And here I was swimming up to these massive whales in my mind, right? And saying, "Can
Right.
you come and play with me?" Like it was just this feeling of, I'm this big and you're massive. But what I found is I reached out to some pretty big people, some that were even famous, who even said yes. And I was like, say what now? You're
Mm.
actually going to come? And yeah, so we all have that sort of imposter, feel small feeling, no matter where you're at in business, it's always there. But the more I did it, the more I recognized that these people that I had way up on a pedestal are actually just like me. And they're struggling in their own ways, they're going through their own journey. And one such person, the irony of it is this: one such person was Norbert Orlowitz, and he is my current mentor. But what's so fascinating about this is the person who introduced me to him 2 years ago said, here's his contact information, but he's pretty big and he's hard to get in touch with. So good luck. And I was like, okay.
Wow.
Um, she did connect us, and I discovered upon reading about him that he lived in the same province as me in Canada, and I discovered that he shared a lot of views on certain topics that I was passionate about, and so I just reached out to him in the DMs, and I, instead of being like, "Hello, my name is Katie. I'm wondering if," I was just like, "Hey, I noticed this," and then I was sort of like, I was just being me, to be honest. I mean, I have a quirky sense of humor. He liked it. He was just like, "Hey, great to meet you." And what ended up happening was, for the event that I was having right at that time, he couldn't make it work because he was going through some business changes and whatnot. But for fast forward 6 months later, he was on my event, and him and I just connected. And he, we've collaborated together on multiple times. And it just goes to show again that relationships above all the rest is really what it comes down to. Like, I will always feel supported by him. He's one of my biggest cheerleaders, and I promote his company all the time because I see the integrity of what they do. So, getting back to your question, if it's awkward, seriously, I think we all need to kind of go into ourselves and pull out the leadership in us. And I have to remind myself of this constantly, because if I'm falling into that, I guess, little girl mentality of like, I'm just little and insecure and scared. What I do is I say, no, Katie, like you build on the confidence of previous attempts, really. So it's being human, it's finding some common ground. I mean, Ashley, when you and I met the first time on the screen, we were laughing within 30 seconds because I made a comment about toys in the background, and I'm like, "Oh, you must have kids," and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, those are cat toys. And I just started laughing and I couldn't stop because I was like, what an assumption I made. But I don't know why it was so funny, but it melted away any nerves or, like just be human, have some fun, laugh a little. And if they can't laugh with you, they're probably not meant to collaborate with you. Like, that's
And to
probably
your credit, you didn't identify people based on, I'm going to go look for people with the following, the audience that I want. You reached out to people that you genuinely liked, at least what you saw of them. And I
yeah.
think that's a huge point. It may be, maybe it's more strategic, or something more that, like, the textbook answer is to reach out to the people with the following.
Of course.
But you've been able with Norbert to have a long-term relationship because you all genuinely like each other, and I think that's huge. I mean, there is this piece of, I want to reach out to someone that I believe is excellent at what they do, and they will serve my audience well, and I can wholeheartedly recommend them. But there is this huge
Yeah.
likability piece of, yeah,
It's
there are just some
important.
people you click with and some people you don't, and I think that's okay, and that's probably why you stood out when you reached out to him, because it was like, dude, I'm not trying to, like, take something from you. I genuinely like you and want to do something together.
Yeah, 100%. Like that's really what it is. It's getting away from the carbon copy of messages and canned messages. Like I have no time for that. I don't even respond to them. Just
Yeah,
be human. Let yourself come out. Like if you're silly like me, great. You're gonna attract more silly humans. Just saying.
absolutely. I love that. And I know, so most of us, if you have done any of these types of collaboration strategies, there is an element of, you provide something for free, whether it's a resource like, a PDF is something you've made, or you speak on a certain topic. You have to give away some of
Mhm.
what you know in order to be a part of this. So, how do you balance being generous, which I'm going to guess anyone listening to this wants to be generous, wants
Yeah.
to be good servants, wants to provide a lot of value, but they also, I mean, I've had this come up with clients, they don't want to give too much away so that the person doesn't want to buy anything from you. How do you balance that?
I was thinking about this because you gave me some questions to think about it, and I pondered on this one because I, as a giver, I take so much joy out of connecting people and delivering value, and admittedly, I'm not as great a receiver, and that's a block that I'm still working through. So, what I would say to that though is the minute we start to say, I don't want to give too much, we're actually coming from a mindset of lack and scarcity, like
Hmm.
there's not
Yeah.
enough. The truth is that you're always going to have so much more to give. It's never ending. I mean, within reason, I'm not asking you to go sacrifice yourself and give it all away, but what I am saying is when it comes to contributing to a collaborative event, for example, you have to remember that I was listening to a reflection the other day about how abundance in terms of what goes out or what comes back in, everything that you think about in terms of the world and how it operates, the waves come in and they go out. Our blood
Hmm.
flow up and down, and you think about our oxygen in and out. Like we have to be um, strategic and know that, first of all, if you're hosting the event, you're obviously going to need to think bigger in terms of, okay, the event is designed to deliver value. But in that process, if you're the host, you're going to be bringing in leads, high quality leads. And then you need to be strategically prepared and think ahead about, well, what do you have after it? 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, a month later, because that's where you might move into your sales event,
Hmm.
something you do on your own. So it's really about trusting the process as much as it is about delivering the service and the value. Now, again, this is why I keep coming back to integrity, because if you align with people of integrity, they're going to hold that integrity in the same way that you do. And it just has a way of coming back to you. It goes out, it comes back in. So my response would be don't hold back on being generous, obviously within reason. We all know sort of where the line is. Um, but the more you share and the more you are open, the more people can trust you. It's like if I do a free week-long challenge, obviously there's going to be a sales process at the end of it. But what I'm doing it for is to deliver value, knowing full well that if there's, say, 50 people in the challenge, not most of them, in fact, 20%, if that, are actually going to buy from me. So I'm not sitting here going, who's going to buy from me? Do I make sure I own, you know what I mean? Like it
Hmm.
doesn't work. So I just would say you really got to get out of that mentality because we're in a currency of trust and give and take, creating win-wins all the way around.
And I think, like we talked about earlier, because there's no one size fits all solution, no matter
Yeah,
how much you give through a speaking event, through a bundle, the sale is there that I can give and give and give, but your plan is unique based on what you do and who your ideal audience is and where you're at in the life of your business. That is a unique thing, and it requires a very unique, customized, personal solution. So
yeah,
it's never a bad thing to get on there and to outserve. For people to be blown away by how much you are giving them, adding value to their business. That's never a bad thing, because then they know, if I really want, her eyeballs on my business, then I'm going to have to purchase. That's the way this works. I mean, you do prove yourself that you are an expert, that you are stellar at what you do, by doing the overserving, by doing the free thing.
100%. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
So I know, I mean, you've done a ton of collaborations. I mean, summits alone are just wild. I am sure you've seen either, as you are learning the process, or seen other people make a lot of mistakes behind the scenes. How do we avoid those?
Mm. A lot of it's what I've said already, in the sense that if you're going to make it all about the numbers and not like the quantity instead of the quality, it's not going to be an effective event, especially in today's day and age. I may have told you a different thing 2 years ago. Um, so first of all, I think people, when they're in a hurry to pull off this event, they'll almost take any speakers and just come in. I got to get this done, right? I've done that, and what that creates is obviously a breakdown in integrity, but also the audience that you bring in from the people that don't serve your audience could be the wrong ones. And I know, and just to be really transparent, when I first started doing these summits, I was in a place of true lack and scarcity. I mean, I was barely making ends meet and I was scared. So anyone could come in the door, like, as long as I make this work. And so guess what happened is I would bring in speakers who had a lot of people that were in the same mindset as me of lack and scarcity. So guess who bought? Oh, nobody. So
Right.
I think it's really about coming from that place of leadership first and aligning yourself with people. Yeah, and it does require research. I'm not going to pretend that it's just easy peasy lemon squeezy. We do have to do the work. We have to research. We have to talk to people. That's a thing. And we have to be willing to explore and see, like, how does that person complement what I'm trying to do here? And the big mistake for me is if it's about ego and numbers and, just getting the lead and that's it. Sure, if that's how you operate, don't let me stop you, but I think there needs to be real heart behind it. There needs to be real service behind it, especially given that people are just tired. They're dead tired of just crap, let's just say it. Like,
Yeah.
so I really think we've got to get back to human service and heart. And summits or any collaboration of any kind, they need to be well thought out, strategically planned, and done from a place of integrity.
I love that. I think we have a real opportunity here to give people some practical steps. So whether you host your own or whether you participate in someone else's thing, let's give them a list of things that are considered collaborations that they could do. Everyone. I've talked to business owners who are making millions. They're all saying the same thing. We all do need more leads. We need more chances
Yeah.
to talk to people, whether it's on a call, whatever that looks like for your business. We need more of those conversations. We need leads in the door. So that's across the board for every single business that I have ever worked with. And that's where collaborations fit in. So let's give some individual examples and then talk through those a little bit. What do you have off the top of your head?
So the first thing I would say, I'm not sure if you wanted to talk about this just yet, but I do have something that I created a couple months ago called the Collaboration Catalyst Vault.
Mhm,
And
sure.
yeah, so that document, which will be provided here, has basically an extensive list of resources. So really, it's whether you're looking at it from a podcasting perspective,
Mhm.
whether you want to do maybe newsletter type swaps, whether you want to really utilize LinkedIn more powerfully. The whole document is just designed to get you to kickstart that process for you and spark the ideas for you. So that's there. I think that number one, um, there's a lot of elements, so I'm having trouble.
Mhm.
Like, okay, Katie, keep it in check here. But number one, one thing I didn't provide for you actually that might be helpful, just to kind of help people kind of gauge where they're at, is what I call the collaboration readiness quiz. It's literally something you could do in 5 minutes. So after we're done here, I'll quickly send it your way. But really, what that is it's an opportunity for you to look and see, like, if I want to go and work with other people and partner up, is my business ready for that? Because the truth
Yes.
is, if you don't have your message down and you're not crystal clear about that, or you're not confident in closing sales on the other end, a collaboration probably isn't going to serve you in the way that you need it to. So the quiz will just give you a big picture view of where you stand. And it's not anything judgmental at all. It's not about pass or fail. It's just to give you a sense of where you are. And when you do the quiz, you can also book a 15-minute with me, and that allows us to connect one-on-one. And I can tell you, if you're going to basically fall in one of three categories. You're going to either be ready, almost ready, or not ready. Really complicated, right? Regardless of where you fall, I will give you recommendations of what I see needs to happen so that you can be successful in this. So, and that's literally a no strings attached call. So that would be a good place to start, because I learned this the hard way as well. There really are certain things that should be in place first, so that you can, because the thing is if you don't even know what you're selling and you go and spend all that time and energy making all these connections and have an event, um, that's going to kind of fall apart, right? Like, you really need to be clear. So I'm not someone that helps people with that part, but I certainly have lots of resources and recommendations I can provide. So all in all, I would say those are good places to start.
Mhm. I love that. So, step 1, these links are gonna be in the show notes. Step 1 is to take this collaboration readiness quiz. Like, and I think some answers will come out of this that may not even relate to collaborations. If you don't
Okay.
have your sales funnel completely in place, that doesn't have anything to do with collaborations necessarily. That means you need to back up and work on that. So, step 1 is to take that quiz. Step 2 is to look at this collaboration vault. Am I saying that correctly?
Yeah, it's called the Collaboration Catalyst Vault, just to
Okay.
kickstart and get you going. Yeah.
So that is going to give you ideas of a lot of different types of collaborations. Some may be great fits for you, some may not. If you don't like speaking, maybe you don't love summits, but you like bundles. And I think, I mean, my personal experience, so I have done more of this year. I've done more of a lot of things this year than I ever have before. Um, so my first bundle out of the gate that I decided to do, and I did this in order because I know I need to build my email list. So I was accepted into this bundle. And then once it launches and I get a look at all the other people in the bundle, I'm realizing this is not a good fit for me because there were some new agey kind of resources in there, chakras and things like that. And I'm like, whoa, 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 this is not my lane. And people that are coming from that person's audience are not going to be my kind of people. So I realized just on that one experience, I need to not be so desperate to build my list. What I should do from now on is to ask more questions of the person hosting it. If I'm
Yes.
not getting them, and I mean, just practically, like, I find a lot of bundles by joining Facebook groups for bundles and summits. Um, and they give a little summary of their bundle and who's it's for and what they're looking for, kind of thing. But I need to do a better job asking questions about what about the other people contributing to this? What kind of, like, deep dive, what kind of person is going to be coming into this? And I would have known these are not really my people, because I don't want to fill my email list with a bunch of people who are really not my people. That's a waste. Just because the
Yes.
numbers are there doesn't mean they're any good or that we would be a good fit working together. So
So
there's a
true.
lot of these that it does take. Just because you get a list doesn't mean you have to do them all. And just because you identify one category doesn't mean you have to do every single thing. If you're a bundles person, that doesn't mean you have to do every single bundle that you apply for. Like,
Right.
let's slow down, let's be smart, and let's pick what is a good fit for you and for your business. Katie, I'm sure you have lots more to say about that. That's just my recent experience.
Yeah. Honestly, I love that because you're talking about both sides of the coin. Like you really, I get invited on stuff quite often, and first of all, I need to know. Usually, there's a promotion period required too, right? So you want to make
Mhm.
sure that you're not in conflict with other things you're promoting or your own
Right.
things that you're promoting. So you really, again, it's all about alignment. I really talk about that a lot in terms of, does it feel
Mhm.
intuitively right to me? Is it aligned with my values, my beliefs, my vision? And there needs to be a filtering process, whether you're hosting or whether you're joining. You really need to be. It's going to be more successful if it feels cohesive as opposed to I'll do it, but and like you, Ashley, I've joined things and realized, yeah, for me it was a lot of people who were just there to the ego thing, right? Like I'm just
Mhm.
here to show off my stuff. Like I just can't get behind that. Yeah, so that's me. But yeah,
And I mean, it's hard to find the perfect fit, but I kind of figured out I would rather have the perfect audience fit than the 100% perfect service fit. Like, I work with service, female service entrepreneurs across the board. So there was something that was just for female coaches, but they were Christians. And I'm like, I work with a whole lot more than just coaches, but I knew personally because it was a Christian audience that we would have so much in common. So for me,
sure.
it's worth being a part of that, even though that's a little more narrow than my niche is. Still, it's worth it because the audience alignment, the values alignment there, we can work the rest out.
Totally, 100%. And you never know what doors will open. You just never know, you
Right.
know? Yeah, yeah,
So I think, I mean, we've talked a lot about summits here. We've talked a lot about bundles, but like you said, when they look at this collaboration strategy about, there's a ton of other ideas there. So you can find the one that works for you. I know
yeah.
we're kind of circling to the end, but I know people are starting to think about their 2026 plans. It's natural this time of year. Um, and we know getting more leads is going to be a huge part of that. Is there something that people like, a low hanging fruit is kind of what I'm thinking about when it comes to these collaborations, that it won't take a massive amount of time to put things together, but that they will see some result out of? Are there things right off the top of your head that you're like, these are easier lifts, but they still are going to get you a transformation?
Hmm. It's a great question because I think, like you said, in today's day and age, like where we are right now, I think getting outside the box is going to be mandatory.
Yes.
Getting outside the box, really coming from that place of genuine service. So what could we do that's a little bit lighter? I always say, if you can do podcast swaps or um, look for people, even if you just did this is something I love to do, so I may be biased in this, but doing a little workshop or like, and actually I've talked to you before, like I would love for us to do something at some point. Like it doesn't have to be something super fancy and complicated, but where can, you and one other person or two or three or six or I wouldn't say 30, that's not light lifting. But
Right.
I would say, how can you bridge that? How can you come together, especially in 2026? Like, I really think that, and I know, Ashley, you and I have talked about this,
Mhm.
we need to carve a new path here. We need to um, really get away from bro marketing and pushing sales and get back to human connection. So any event that delivers value and meets people where they're at and gives them what they want. There's a lot of marketing involved. I don't know anyone in the room who knows anything about marketing, but it might be Ashley. So knowing what your intentions are, your vision, and seeing who's in your circle right now,
Mhm.
who's already got leads, and interview them, bring them on, like whatever. I just think we got to stop like hiding behind our desk and building beautiful Canva booklets, guilty, and start getting out there more and connecting more.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm 100%, and we've talked about this kind of what direction we're going to lean in 26. And I think so much of it is like the power of the relationship, the one-on-one, the personal touch. So it's like, and that's online. Like, who do you know?
Yeah.
Who have you come across that you all can have a coffee chat and just talk about your businesses? And, I encourage my clients, and I'm doing this myself, like, can you tap into your local environment too? Even if you're not a brick and mortar, there are relationships with people you can actually see face to face, and it's just you're just enlarging the people that you know. Let's go back to the olden days of, like, let's just get to know people. And I think there are powerful things that will come out of that. It's like, I want to serve you, you want to serve me. Let's work together. Let's join arms and make this easier. My gosh, let's be real. I don't want to be on Instagram posting reels
No.
every day, trying to break through the noise and get people's attention by what? Doing an Irish dance and a rap. I mean, it's ridiculous, the stuff that you have to do to get attention. So I say, let's buck that. Yeah, get outside of the box, break down the box and stomp on it. I mean, we have got to find
Yes.
a different way, because this old social media saturation, more and more, isn't working, and for good reason. We're sick of it too. The people, who are the content creators are sick of that. So let's find
Yes.
a new way, and it doesn't have to be hard.
It doesn't. And really, I mean, it's like anything. When you work with other people and you share the load, good Lord, it makes all the difference. So why are we torturing ourselves? Why? I,
Yes.
yeah.
100%. I know
Yeah.
you don't have to subscribe to the conventional way just because I feel like I'm talking to kids at school. Just because everybody else is doing it doesn't mean you have to do it.
So
you know,
true. We need to be reminded as adults. Let's be real. We can get
right.
caught up in it.
It works for
Mhm.
us too. Just because all of the experts in quotes are doing it doesn't mean that's the only way for it to be done or the best way for it to be done. This is
It's
all
true.
entrepreneurship, that it's trial and error. See what works for you, and what works for you may not work for your best business buddy. That's the don't be afraid for things to fail.
100,000. Fail forward. Truly.
Okay, Katie, I want to tell everybody they can connect with you on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube. Do you have a preference of those things? If somebody
I
wants to
am
ask you
intent.
a question?
Yeah. Well, my name is easy to find as long as you spell it correctly with a Y. And I am trying to be more active. Well, I'm not trying. I am being more active on LinkedIn now
Mhm.
as opposed to Facebook, but I will find your message whether you contact me either way. I am also on YouTube, although that's something I get to build some consistency on in the new year. That's one of my goals. So, yes, I would say find me on LinkedIn or Facebook, and just reach out. I'm always up for a conversation
So
anytime.
we will have links to Katie's LinkedIn. We'll have links to her free gifts that we mentioned in this episode. And Katie, I want to give you the floor to close us out. Is there anything that you want to make sure people walk away with, as though, like, what's the one thing you want them to remember from our chat?
Well, I think it's appropriate given that we are coming to the end of the year. And I think a lot of us, myself included, have looked back and been like, what was that? What was that? And it's probably good that we can't see into the future because we go through what we need to go through in order to grow to the next level. And so, what I would say is, regardless of whether you had an amazing year or a really challenging one, know that you get to be part of getting outside the box and creating a different story going forward. And I would just say, like, can we please get back to being human, connecting with each other, serving from the heart rather than from a bank account. We all have one of those. We all need to keep it filling up. However, it becomes very clear very quickly if that's your number one and you're focused on numbers versus humans. So, yeah, so I would just say, like, let's get back to that. Let's get back to good old fashioned conversation, good old fashioned laugh a little. I mean, I can't not laugh. I need to. So, yeah, and I want to wish you all the best as you wrap up the year and wish you an incredible 2026.
I love that. I think that's a message we all need. We know, but we need to be reminded of. It's so hard sometimes that the money side, the dollars and cents, the P&L sheet. does
It
does
impacts
become
you.
really pressing in your mind. And,
Yeah,
you do have to be intentional to say, "Wait,
yeah,
wait, wait. Why am I really doing this?"
yeah,
I
100%.
love that so much. This has been a super fun conversation. I really do. Of all the people that I've had on here, of all the stuff that we've talked about, I really feel like this is where it's at in 2026. The
Yes.
real connections. And I so appreciate, you coming on here, lending your expertise in all of this because you have been practicing this. It was like before it was cool. Before it was cool to talk about collaborations, you were talking about it. So I appreciate you and sharing all of your wisdom with us.
Well, thanks for having me, Ashley. It's been nothing but a pleasure to be here. So thank you.
Thanks so much. I hope you all have just gained a lot from this, a lot of ideas. And like Katie said, we wish you a wonderful rest of 25 and even bigger things in 26.